On this edition of Primetime News, mending ties seem to be the theme in Korean politics today. The presidential office and the ruling Sanctions party signal a return to closer cooperation, while rival party lawmakers agreed to work on passing a supplementary budget this month. 17 days of negotiations and over a decade of deadlocked talks finally end with a historic deal between Iran and world powers. Tehran gets sanctions relief for curbing its nuclear program. The curtain has fallen on the 2015 Gwangju Universiade. A spectacular closing ceremony was the icing on the cake as the home team finished on top. Stay with us for these stories and much more. Hello and welcome to Primetime News on this Tuesday, July 14th. I'm Daniel Choy.
And I'm Hwang Ji-hye. Thank you for joining us.
Let's begin with domestic politics. President Park Geun-hye will meet with the ruling Sanctions party leaders, including the newly elected floor leader Won Yu-chul, on Thursday.
The meeting comes as the new floor leader faces a host of tasks, one of which is improving relations with the presidential office. Our Park Ji-won starts us off.
President Park Geun-hye will meet new Sanctions floor leader Won Yu-chul and party chairman Kim Woo-sung on Thursday, signaling a turning point for better cooperation between the presidential office and the ruling bloc. It was confirmed Tuesday when the newly appointed senior presidential secretary for political affairs, Hwang Ji-hye, met with Sanctions chairman Kim. Earlier in the day, Won was officially approved by party consensus to take up the floor leader post. In his acceptance speech, the 52-year-old four-term lawmaker said he would mend ties with the president.
Based on a close relationship with the presidential office, I will focus on improving the economy and the livelihoods of the people, and on fulfilling the Park Geun-hye administration's reforms in four major areas: the public sector, labor, education, and finance.
The new ruling party floor leader got right down to business, meeting with his opposition party counterpart Lee Jong-ger soon after giving those remarks. The two vowed to work together on many pressing issues, including a contentious multi-billion-dollar extra budget. The main opposition floor leader also held a briefing earlier in the day. He said his party would push to increase the amount of budget funds that would go to support the people and medical institutions that suffered as a result of the MERS outbreak. And he reiterated the opposition's view that some $5 billion allocated to covering the current tax revenue deficit should be cut.
The chronic tax revenue deficit is a symbol of the Park Geun-hye administration's incompetence. You might think the deficit came from the public's failure to pay their taxes, but that's not the case. It is the government's failure to correctly estimate tax revenues, either due to failed economic projections or policy mistakes.
Despite their differences over the size of the budget supplement, the rival parties have agreed to pass the plan this month with the possibility that it could gain parliamentary approval by as early as the 24th. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Korea's first public home shopping channel selling domestic agricultural products and goods from small and mid-sized companies began programming today. President Park expects the new channel to become a dream-come-true platform for small and mid-sized businesses. Our Choi Yoo-sun reports.
Korea's first public home shopping channel showcased its inaugural lineup of products before its official launch on Tuesday. President Park Geun-hye got a preview of the goods, including a timer-operated rotating cooker.
어떤 점을 부각해서 소비자한테 알리실 계획인가요?
그동안은 조리를 할 때 이게 늘 뒤집어주는 번거로움이 있었고요. 기름이 튀었거든요. 그런데 이건 불화하기 때문에 뒤집어주지 않고요.
A year ago, the government announced plans to launch a public shopping channel to help Korea's small and mid-sized firms and the agricultural and fisheries sector secure a market for their innovative products.
공영 홈쇼핑은 중소기업과 농수산업의 혁신적인 유통 플랫폼의 역할을 하면서 창조적인 우수한 제품의 발굴을 선도해 나갈 것입니다.
Significantly reducing the commission that sellers pay a shopping channel, the public broadcaster will boost the competitiveness of SMEs by way of product enhancement and innovation. Farmers and fishermen will also be able to save on distribution costs through direct trade with consumers.
상품성이 있는 제품을 만들고도 이제 소비자에게 알릴 길이 없어서 이제 그 소비자도 모르고 또 제품 개발자도 애를 태우는 이런 일은 이제 앞으로 없어질 수 있도록 많이 힘써 주시고요.
Highlighting the government's support for innovation, President Park also visited a startup town where entrepreneurs and investors are teaming up to launch their businesses globally. There, she asked that they work closely with the government and conglomerates, completing a full cycle of an ecosystem for startups. Choi Yu-sun, Arirang News.
Iran and world powers have reached a long-awaited nuclear deal. How long was it? After 17 days of negotiations and over a decade of deadlocked talks. Our Shin Se-min tells us more.
A historic nuclear agreement, roughly 2 years in the making, has finally been reached.
Today could have been the end of hope on this issue, but now we are starting a new chapter of hope.
Iran and the 6 world powers clinched a deal granting Tehran sanctions relief in exchange for curbing its nuclear program. It involves limiting nuclear production of highly enriched uranium for 10 years and access to nuclear fuel and equipment for 15. On top of this, Iran's diplomat reaffirmed that it won't seek, develop, or acquire any nuclear weapons. The UN's nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency, announced a roadmap for Iran to resolve its issues by the end of this year. With this final agreement, Tehran has accepted a snapback plan that will re-implement sanctions in 65 days if it violates the terms of the deal. This major breakthrough is being viewed as a trigger in reshaping relations between Iran and the West, with hopes that the effects will likely spread.
That means this deal is not built on trust. It is built on verification. Put simply, no deal means a greater chance of more war in the Middle East.
The deal still needs the stamp of approval from the U.S. Congress, which has 60 days to review before giving final word. There are concerns that it will face tough opposition from Republicans, as well as the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, a longtime critic of the negotiations. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Back to Korea, Seoul has returned 2 of the 5 North Korean fishermen rescued in South Korean waters earlier this month. The 2 Koreas are, some could say, playing a game of human tug-of-war, with the North pulling out all the stops, even bringing out the families of those who decided to defect to the site of the handover. Our Connie Kim has the details.
Seoul's Unification Ministry said Tuesday the North accepted the 2 fishermen earlier in the day through the inter-Korean truce village of Panmunjom. It's not known whether Pyongyang lodged a complaint during the repatriation process, but a Unification Ministry official said things appear to have gone smoothly during the handover. Pyongyang had been threatening to take stern action if the South didn't return all 5 men. A day earlier, Pyongyang had told Seoul it would send to the truce village the relatives of the 3 fishermen who expressed a desire to defect to South Korea, and a group of officials to take all 5 fishermen into custody. Seoul said it would honor the wishes of the 3 fishermen to stay in the South when the South Korean Coast Guard rescued the 5 men in waters near Ulleungdo Island earlier this month. South Korea has never repatriated a North Korean who expressed a desire to defect. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
All good stories have to come to an end, and the 14-day collegiate sporting extravaganza that is this year's Gwangju Universiade has ended with a bang. Team Korea far outperformed expectations to finish first overall in the medal standings for the first time in the event's history. Kim Hyun-bin brings us this report from Gwangju.
The 2015 Gwangju Universiade officially came to an end in Korea's self-proclaimed City of Light on Tuesday, with an impressive closing ceremony. The ceremony under the theme Sharing the Light featured over 900 performers in a dazzling display of spectacle and artistry. The city of Gwangju and the event organizing committee are delighted the Universiade was such a great success.
We have 13,000 participants from 143 countries, which makes the game the largest in its history. And also 9,300 volunteers and also 50,000 supporters also made the game with a success.
The host nation outstripped everyone's expectations in terms of its sporting performance.
This is the first time Korea has come first in the Universiade and the best result Korea has had in any international summer sports competition.
The accomplishment is even more significant considering the country's initial goal was to finish third place overall with 25 gold medals. Instead, Team Korea racked up an astonishing 47 gold medals, finishing well ahead of both China and Russia.
As a local resident, I'm pleased that Team Korea did well and hope they keep up the momentum to bring in great results in next year's Summer Olympics.
Korea's record-breaking performance at the Gwangju Universiade has definitely set the bar high for a strong showing at the next major summer sports competition, the 2016 Rio Olympics. But Team Korea may already be on the path to success, as several of the athletes has won gold here, are expected to keep the golden run going in Brazil. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News, Gwangju.
A group of Koreans embarked on a special railway journey this morning. The government's Eurasia Friendship Express project is expected to serve as a meaningful opportunity for Korea to send its Eurasian neighbors a message of peace. Kim Ji-yeon tells us more.
More than 200 Koreans from different walks of life set off on a very special journey on Tuesday. They boarded express trains that will travel to 6 countries in Asia and Europe over a 20-day period. During that time, they hope to establish ties in diverse fields, including the economy and culture. This Eurasia Friendship Express project, spearheaded by the Foreign Ministry and Korea Railway Corporation, was launched to carry out President Park Geun-hye's Eurasia Initiative, which in turn aims to link energy and logistics infrastructure across the continent to lay a foundation for new growth opportunities in both Asia and Europe. In a pre-recorded speech broadcast at the launch ceremony at Seoul Station, the president said the project represents the hopes, dreams, and desires of the people for the peace and unification of the two Koreas. The project participants are divided into 2 teams. One will take the Trans-Siberia Railway from Vladivostok in Russia, while the other will depart from Beijing aboard the Trans-Mongolia Railway. They will meet again in southern Russia to end their journey in Berlin, where they will participate in events marking the 25th anniversary of German unification and the 70th anniversary of the division of the Korean Peninsula. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
In other news, officials from Korea and China held talks earlier today with a focus on reviving Korea's tourism industry, which has taken a major hit from the MERS outbreak. Culture Minister Kim Jong-duk met with Lin Jinsao, chairman of the China National Tourism Administration in Beijing on Tuesday. They reportedly agreed on boosting tourist exchanges between the two countries. During their meeting, Kim also stressed that Korea has not seen a new case of MERS for 9 straight days, adding that the disease will likely taper to an end by next month. As a first step, Seoul will send a friendship committee of 500 people representing industries like travel, media, and the arts to China next week. Some exciting news for Arirang TV. The station you're watching will launch a 24-hour channel on the UN in-house network later today, becoming the first Korean broadcaster to establish a 5-year partnership with the UN. For more on what the new channel means for Korea-UN ties, our Hwang Sung-hee spoke to Christina Gelak, UN Undersecretary General for Communications and Public Information.
So give us your impression of Arirang TV's launching of this new 24-hour news channel on the UN in-house network.
Well, I think it's going to be a great instrument for the UN officials, the UN delegates, and everybody that comes to this place, to the UN, to follow the actualities of Korea, to follow the events there, and to be more in contact with the reality of your country. So we think it's a great instrument that's going to put us closer together, and we are particularly delighted.
Well, there are other international news channels like CNN and BBC that have already launched their channels on the UN network. What kind of roles have they been playing?
Well, they have been extremely helpful in promoting the United Nations policies, the decisions, the agreements, and sometimes, of course, the disagreements. So we think that having more media involved in the United Nations is the best way to promote the UN values and UN activities.
How can Arirang TV distinguish itself from the other news channels on the UN network?
No doubt that Arirang TV is going to bring a special angle because of the country that comes from and because of the region. So we think that this Asia view is going to be very important. It will be a little bit different, and we think it's going to be a great contribution to the knowledge and to understanding.
Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, in his congratulatory message for Arirang TV, expressed hopes to see the channel play a key role in bridging the gap between Korea and the UN. How should Arirang TV go on about in doing this, and how can the channel bolster Korea-UN ties, in your view?
I think the best way to bolster those ties is to report consistently, accurately about the United Nations efforts. At the same time, to report in a very active manner about the key role that the Republic of Korea plays in the United Nations. We are witnessing an ever more acting Republic of Korea in UN affairs. For example, now the Republic of Korea is going to chair one of the social economic committees, a key committee in the UN organization. So knowing for the world to know more the role of Korea is very important. So we think that no doubt more information about these activities is going to bolster the relationship.
Thank you, Under Secretary General Galak, for your time today.
It's my pleasure.
Time for the top international news headlines. We now connect to our Lee Sun-ho at the News Center.
Our focus today, Greece at last gets its bailout deal with the Eurozone, but large tasks remain. A stampede kills dozens in India, and a NASA spacecraft makes a historic Pluto flyby.
Well, first of all, Sun-ho, let's start with Greece. A groundbreaking agreement has been reached, but what lies ahead for the nation's future?
Well, Greece has escaped for now a potential economic meltdown after striking a deal with the Eurozone leaders. But Athens still faces a challenging road ahead as EU finance ministers now gather in Brussels to find ways to fund the bailout. Our Han Da-eun has the details.
Finance ministers from the 19-nation currency union got straight down to business after Monday's agreement discussing ways to finance Greece until the specific terms of a third bailout are finalized. The president of the Eurogroup says it'll take at least 1 month to settle on a third bailout program, as the Eurozone will have to design a completely new program that calls for more substance and tougher commitments.
We have asked the institutions to do that as quickly as possible. But it will probably be closer to 4 weeks than 2 weeks. It's my understanding, and some call me an optimist.
The Eurozone ministers ended the meeting without making much progress, saying they failed to draw up viable solutions to form a bridge loan that would provide short-term liquidity to the debt-ridden country. Some told reporters that talks on interim loan are proving very difficult, as many countries are reluctant to give Greece money without any conditions. Securing a bridge loan is just one of Greece's problems. Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras must push Monday's deal, that includes harsh austerity measures, through the Greek parliament by Wednesday. But he's already facing stiff opposition, even from within his inner circle.
Yesterday, the country's prime minister faced a coup by Germany, but also by other countries like the Netherlands, Finland, and the Baltic states. A coup that reached the point that Greece's prime minister was blackmailed with the collapse of the banks and a haircut on deposits.
Greek banks have been closed for 2 weeks, and a €60 per day limit remains in effect on ATM withdrawals. The banks are expected to remain shut through at least Wednesday. Han Da-eun, Arirang News.
And tragic news from India as a stampede kills 27 people and injuring 30 more during a Hindu festival. The incident took place as thousands of worshippers gathered in Andhra Pradesh to celebrate the start of a 12-day Hindu festival in the Godavari River. A senior police official said he witnessed a large group of people going into the river to take a dip, at which point they got in the way of others also making their way in. Many were crushed to death by the crowd, while others were drowned in the water after they either fell or jumped into the waters. The Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh urged people not to panic in a series of tweets on Tuesday. This isn't the first time such an incident has occurred in India. Back in 2013, 115 people died in a stampede in central Madhya Pradesh. And some exciting new developments in the world of space exploration, as NASA's New Horizons spacecraft just made a historic flyby of the solitary planet Pluto. The probe will bring back the most detailed pictures of the planet by far. The craft is about the size of a grand piano and has been traveling at over 30,000 miles per hour. Just check out how thrilled scientists were at a news conference on Tuesday as the New Horizon made its approach.
And then all of a sudden, it's like the freight train's coming down the track, and you're seeing this light coming at you, and you know it's not going to stop. You can't slow it down. It's going to get there. And of course, the light is Pluto, and we're all excited.
Now, NASA also found out that Pluto turned out to be larger than previously thought, ending years of disagreement over its actual size and whether indeed it can be considered a planet.
We've discovered that Pluto's a little bit larger than we anticipated. We now have good measurements of its diameter and its radius. Its radius is 1,185 kilometers, plus or minus 10. That settles the debate about the largest object in the Kuiper Belt.
Now, the groundbreaking journey to the remote planet has been a decade in the making. An Australian tracking station will be the first to receive the new images. And as a huge fan of space exploration myself, I'm also excited what NASA will discover. And that does it for your international news. I'll see you again tomorrow.
Sweltering conditions are set to continue. Heat wave advisories have been in effect since early this morning in parts of Gangwon-do and Gyeonggi-do provinces. And the daily high here in Seoul will also be a couple of degrees higher than today, peaking at 33 under mostly sunny skies. Also expect strong UV levels and the discomfort index to rise as the humidity levels increases in most parts of the country. So it's going to be really hot and humid tomorrow. In fact, the rest of the week will see scorching highs reaching into the 30s here in the capital. And Typhoon Nanka, which is even stronger than Cheonhom, could affect the southern and eastern parts of the country, including Jeju Island, between Friday and Saturday, bringing down heavy rain and strong winds. On that note, here are the readings for tomorrow. Seoul and Daegu will get up to 33 and 30, while Gwangju and Busan rises to 32 and 27. And as for the other regions, it seems like Daejeon and Jeju Island will see a high of 32 and 27, while Dokdo rises to 25. Now, if you're looking for some relief from the heat, heads up, public outdoor swimming pools along the Hangang River are set to open this Friday and will remain open till August 23rd. Well, that's all for Korea, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
And that brings us to the end of our newscast. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Hwang Ji-hye.
And this has been Daniel Choy. Do join us at about 10:57 p.m. Korea time for a special Arirang live coverage of Arirang TV's launch in the UN in-house network channel. For now, goodbye.